Hello, everybody. Let me take care of a little homework here first. And here we go.
You're listening to a Dare Media Group radio station. Daring Australian Radio Entertainment. Dare Media Group is the home of these online radio stations: Radio X Gold, Radio X Country, 6RXM Radio X Magic, and Dare Talk Radio. Find out more at daremediagroup.com.au.
Okay, well, that seemed to last shorter than I thought it was going to.
You're tuned to the Sportcat show.
Yes, you are tuned to the Sportcat, the Boss Jock.
The Boss Jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. You are listening to and watching Sportcat's Daily Gazette. And I am in the studio today with all of my friends in the chat. Hello, Denise. I see Chris is in there. Hello, Chris. And yes, Chris is right. Everybody on the Dare Media and the Radio X and the Yerg's Radio crowd needs to come over and check us out on YouTube. And then when you're here, come over and share it, like it, and subscribe. And then also have your pet spayed and neutered. Good one, Chris. I'm going to add something to that here in a bit. So yeah, everybody come on over. Check us out. We have a great chat. Denise is here. Chris is here. I'm sure there's some other, I don't know, mouth breeders in there somewhere, but we're all here. We're ready for a great show today. First, let's take care of some business. Last night's Big Brother show. If you're listening on Dare Media or Radio X, thank you. If you were trying to watch it on YouTube, apparently YouTube went down. It was down for several hours, and you couldn't stream to it. I don't know why, but apparently it was. So they're not going to tell you why. I suspect it was probably hacked. So, yeah. So you couldn't watch us on the YouTube. Anytime to any of my loyal YouTube followers that they don't find me here, look on Yerg's Radio or Radio X in Australia, and you can probably find me there, as well as Dare Media. So, and a host of other places. It wouldn't even let me download the recording once I made it. It was so weird. So I don't know what was going on with it, but like I said, YouTube's not going to tell you. Of course they're not going to tell you. All right, well, it is currently, hold on, I'm going to put my little clock up here. It is currently 13:05 on the East Coast, 1:05. It's 12:05 in Chicago, Denver. Good morning, 11:05. LA, 10:05 a.m. Good morning. And let's see, Anchorage, 9:05. Honolulu, 7:05. Perth, Australia. Thank you for tuning in and listening. In Sydney, good morning. It's 3:05 a.m. So welcome to everyone. I'm glad you're here. And let's jump into what we normally do here, which is a bunch of silliness. Did I mention today is really Friday? I spent most of yesterday and a days thinking yesterday was Friday. I'm perplexed because tonight is the opening of Washington Commanders preseason football. Big Brother has a show on, and On Patrol is on. So I'm just so confused. Yes, Chris, that even confused Julie. So yeah, we were talking about it, and I was quite vocal about how Ashley on CBS Big Brother, she was an idiot. She was an idiot. So those of you who don't know, on Big Brother, on every Thursday night they do a live eviction. Well, last night's live eviction, it was coming down to kind of the wire, but there was two people on the block, Jimmy and Kelly. Kelly has been on the block multiple times, and, well, Jimmy, he was shocked when he was put on there, and a majority of the group caught him playing both sides of the house, which will get you thrown out of the Big Brother house because neither side feels like they can trust you. So it came down to the vote. And Ashley, which I don't know how she's a lawyer. I don't know if she's passed the bar exam. Good Lord. That lady is just not the brightest bulb in the box. Anyhow, she came in and said she was confused after talking in the hallway to another player. And she came in and she finally said, okay, I want to get rid of Kelly, and which was one of the girls on the block. Well, then she was out in the hallway, and the guy coming in to vote is whispering in her ear, and she's shaking her head, and he's got his hand. You can't hear any audio. He's got his hands up in the air. Then he puts his hand over his mouth. She bolts to go back into the room on live TV and says, I want to change my mind. I want to change my mind. And it upset Julie Chen, who, if you ever watch Big Brother, you know she's lovingly referred to as the Chin Bot because sometimes she's robotic-like. She's done this for so long. And Julie was yelling, no, 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 as Ashley bolted out of the door and the next guy came in to vote. Needless to say, there are no do-overs. So Ashley's vote went for Jimmy. And then at the end of the show, the very last scene you see is it's fading to black. Is you see the outgoing head of house, Mickey. She had been kind of crazy head of house. She had HOHitis, as it's called in Big Brother world. And she was whispering to Ashley, I wonder who the second vote was. And the look on Ashley's face was, oh, I don't know. So, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. So, yes. Well, hello, Wendell. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are glad you are here. I hope you got your car fixed, and I hope you're feeling better. All right, so historical events. By the way, yesterday we talked about what the president was going to be doing in the afternoon, and it got moved up while we were on the air. He was signing something for Purple Heart Day, and I'm not sure if I didn't catch it, the whole thing. I'm not sure if he was issuing new Purple Hearts or if he was just acknowledging it, but there was a ceremony and he signed something. So I probably should know. In 1509, Emperor Krishneva Raya, Wendell, try and say that, is crowned, beginning the rejuvenation of the Viagra Empire. No, that ain't right. The Vijayana Empire in southern India. 1609, Galileo Galilei presents his telescope to the Venetian Senate in Venice. Okay. And in 1796, the United States, the U.S. Congress unanimously chooses the dollar as the monetary unit for the United States. It looks much different than it does now. If you had one of those, if you have one of these now, boy, you're well off. 1945. Wendell says, if anyone is listening or watching on anything other than YouTube, come on over and join us. And Wendell is yelling at you, so you need to do that. Come over and find us. The Sportcat shows are the paranormal, 3 words, guys with a Z, because we're unique. Just search out Sportcat shows. You'll find us, and calm Wendell down, for gosh sakes. 1945, the Soviet Union declares war on Japan during World War II and invades Mankaira the next day. And if you listen to my show Wednesday night, our second hour, we had a guest that was a dual citizen Canadian China author, and she gave a fascinating insight into the China society, the culture. It was really enlightening. So, and the reason I say that is because she was talking about how the Chinese children have been trained for generations to hate Japanese, hate Americans, and to despise Taiwanese. 1974, U.S. President Richard Nixon announces he will resign at 12 p.m. the next day. That's a significant event for me because that is the first thing I remember watching on TV was him resigning. That's the first thing on TV I remember watching. So 1988, ceasefire between Iran and Iraq takes effect after 8 years of war. Well, they just started shooting somebody else. Today in film, 1939, Venice Film Festival opens with the USA boycott due to Benito Mussolini's fascist Italian regime. 1992, Metallica singer and guitarist James Hetfield suffered second and third degree burns during a pyrotechnic explosion on stage at Olympic stadiums in Montreal. I remember that. And in 1990, the first International Lawn Tennis Challenge, it's the precursor to the Davis Cup, begins at the Longwood Cricket Club in Massachusetts. It was won 3-0 by the U.S. over the British Isles. We dominate tennis. I don't know if that's true or not. So let's see. Chris says, Julie said no, then counted it as number 2, then changed it again to say the original vote counted. It was an awesome example of lawyers diddling, deciding things in life on the fly. I'm telling you, if that girl is really an attorney, I hope and pray I never have to. I hope if she's an attorney and I ever have to be in court, I hope she's on the other side, not my side. Let's see, 1844, Brigham Young is chosen to lead the Mormon Church. He becomes the leader of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints after the founder, Joseph Smith, is murdered by an angry mob. During his time as church's leader, he led 148 Mormon pioneers from Illinois to Salt Lake City, where he founded Salt Lake City. He then has established what is known as Brigham Young University. Emiliano Zapata is born. He's a Mexican revolutionary. He was born in the Mexican state of Morelos to a peasant family. He got his start as a revolutionary at the age of 18 when he was arrested for protesting with other peasants in his village against a large estate that had taken over their lands. He fought for land to be redistributed to peasants during and after the American Revolution, but was shot to death by enemy soldiers at just the age of 39 in 1919. 1914, the Endurance depths from Plymouth, England. Famous explorer Ernest Shackleton and the crew of the Endurance set sail from Antarctica, marking the beginning of a perilous journey that would leave them stranding, fighting for their lives. Let's see here. All right. Sorry, Chris. 1693, England's Great Train Robbery. The Southwest Gang pulls off the largest train robbery in British history, stealing 2.6 million pounds of sterling, the equivalent of $70 million in today's money. Bruce Reynolds, Gordon Goody, Rodnell Edwards, and Charlie Wilson joined forces with a dozen other criminals known as the South Coast Raiders to board the train, beat the conductor, and get away with a massive loot. Would be what would be one of the biggest heists in history. We talked about Nixon resigning. I wonder, did they ever find the loot? And let's see, 2003, serial killer Shelley Notek is arrested. Serial killer and mom is arrested in Washington, known as a selfless family. The Noteks would always open their home to strangers. Unfortunately, those that stayed in their home rarely made it out. After suffering abuse themselves at the hands of their own mother, they turned her over to the police. Her daughters turned her over to the police. They claimed that their mother had not only abused them, but tortured and murdered guests that stayed in their home. The police searched the home and found copious evidence of her crimes. She, along with her husband, were arrested, received 20 years in prison, and released in 2022. It doesn't say how many people did she kill. Good Lord. And you only get 20 years? Goodness. That doesn't seem right, but hey, whatever. We'll talk about how certain criminals get away. August 8th. Well, that's today. Chris, it is National Pickleball Day. Do you play pickleball, Chris? National Moochie Day. What is Moochie? I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Let's look because I'm a fat kid. It's the day we celebrate the Japanese rice cake Moochie. You know, now that it says this, I think I've had this. Moochie is a traditional Japanese rice dessert made from gelatinous rice. It dates back to 3rd century AD. It's said to evolve during the time as rice cultivation. In Japan, rice is a significant part of the Japanese culture. History tells us that Moochie relates to Japanese lore, gods and goddesses, celebrations, and art that dates back to the 3rd century. As soon as that came up, I was like, I think I've had that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think I have. My high school growing up, we had, the high school spoke 135 different languages, but not every class was that integrated. But one of my friends, it seems like, brought that for the class. National Whataburger Day. Okay, I'm going to protest. Why does Whataburger have its own day? Global Sleep Under the Stars Night. Well, it's so hot here in the South that it's probably would fry you if you did. It's National CBD Day. Oh, Mrs. Sportcat, take a listen. National Dollar Day and National Frozen Custard Day. I don't know if I like National frozen custard. Sneak some zucchini into your neighbor's porch day. Wendell, have you ever snuck zucchini onto your neighbor's porch? And it's National Happiness Happens Day. Chris says, I've never played pickleball. Also, never thrown pickles on a car behind me in the drive-thru. Hey, don't judge, okay? Wendell says they eat some strange stuff. Where does tapioca come from, Wendell? Have you ever had tapioca? I think I've had it once. It's a root. It's a Jello root, I think. National Happiness Day. Smile on August 8th. Share in the National Happiness Happens Day. On this day each year, just let it happen. You know, happiness, because happiness happens. Wendell, don't ruin my happiness. This day encourages happiness all day. Recognize every moment of glee, joy, delight, and pleasure. Don't let it pass. Most importantly, a flicker of a giggle should be given its due and should blossom into full-blown happiness. Don't be surprised if it happens. The happiness fairy is out, shaking its wand on everyone to be happy today. It's International Beer Day. Well, that'll make a lot of people happy. Wendell says, Whataburger is high price and basically the same as Burger King. The only Whataburger I like is the one with jalapenos on it. But you're right, it's just a Burger King. I don't know that Burger King has a jalapeno Southwest, but Digital Nomad Day. All right, I'm going to bite. What is Digital Nomad Day? It is August 8th. Every year celebrates the merit and lives of those who make the world their office. Well, as more people are disillusioned with working in rigid working cultures, many are looking for a way to experience the best world has to offer while maintaining their livelihood. So basically, it's people who go and work remotely in the woods. Dying to Know You Day. Well, I'm dying to know all my fans. It's the National Dying to Know You Day. International Allyship Day. Allyship, I'm probably pronounced that wrong. National Ann Day. Happy National Ann Day. National Braiders Day. National Dollar Day. And it's National Melvin. If you know anybody named Melvin, say hello to them and to Ann today. And it is National Perler Day. And I'm really not sure how zucchinis being snuck onto a front porch became a national day, but hey, it's National Tarantula Appreciation Day. Okay, then. Odie Day. It's the Peace Festival. Peasants Day. Rakashan Bandahan. Yeah, don't ask me to say that one again. And it is Scottish Wildcat Day. Shop online for groceries day. If I never have to leave the house, I'm a happy man. Take a penny, leave a penny day. That's an interesting approach. And I have been following some of these prepping shows because I watch it so you guys and gals don't have to. And one of them made a valid point that we should all start carrying some currency on us, from pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollars in small bills, just in case there was ever a run on the bank or you needed to have money and there was no way to access it electronically and you didn't have to hand somebody a big $100 bill. So I have started carrying, well, I don't carry it, but I have a change purse where I've just thrown all my change I've collected over the year, not all of it, but some of it, in a little purse. And if I go somewhere, I throw it in the car just in case. So it's Toubé Day. I don't know what Toubé Day. It's a religious day. Wear your mother's jewelry day. Wendell, that seems kind of odd for you. So let me catch up on the comments here. Wendell says, I thought every day is a happy day for you at night when you are alone. Well, you know, Wendell, I have been alone for, let's see, actually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days. Gosh, it seems like much longer. Me and Ginger seem to be much less stressed. But I will tell you, I have to wash dishes now. I'm not a fan. So, yes. Sorry, I just don't like washing dishes. You know what? When Mom's gone, I should buy her a dishwasher. It would make my life a lot easier. All right, so this comes to us from our friends at the Smoking Gun. Video shows, and this gentleman, well, I don't know, video shows lottery winner getting tased. A $167.3 million man attempted to escape from Floridian police. August 7th, a day after claiming the $167.3 million Powerball jackpot, James Farthing was at the lobby bar of a Florida resort bragging about his financial windfall, saying, I'm a millionaire, only wearing a pair of shorts and sneakers, but heavily tattooed. Oh, yes, he is. He's 50. He was apparently not pleased when a skeptical patron challenged the Kentucky man's story. He was claiming all these lottery Williams. Kevin Rushing, a 48-year-old Idaho resident, told police. Rushing, who was vacationing in the Tradewinds Resort in St. Pete, added that he told Farthing he was delusional. Well, what followed was a melee that resulted in felonious and misdemeanor charges being filed against Farthing. He's a career criminal con who is now one of Bluegrass State's wealthiest men. The incident was captured on body cam video released by the police in response to an open records request. Footage can be seen without sound. Officers have been called to the resort in response to the unruly behavior of Farthing and his girlfriend. The guy with the tats was basically trying to fight everybody in the bar, the deputy reported. This guy came in acting like an asshole, saying, I'm a millionaire. After being called out, he allegedly punched another bar member in the face. They were grappling on the floor when deputies arrived and rushed in to separate the pair. As the cop was detaining Rushings, Farthing got to his feet and attempted to kick Rushings in the head. Instead, he struck Aristotle in the face with a second kick. And a second hit kick. Right, that's kind of confusing. We just need to watch it. Subsequently, the officer. So he punched the officer in the face. Yeah, that'll get you in trouble every time. So the officer drew his taser, demanded he put his hands back behind his back, right the F now, and get against the effing wall. Instead, he made a run for the exit. Well, that didn't last too long. He fired 3 taser darts, into which struck him in the back, and he executed a flawless tackle on him, who was bloodied when his face hit the floor. Ah, poor guy. Well, he's a millionaire. He can buy new teeth. You see, I have him as you walk up and you effing kick him and you hit me in the effing face. Ah, the cop was angry. He said, I'm sorry, man. Save your sorries for later, the officer replied, who substantially declared he's going to effing jail for effing kicking me in the effing face. Well, the officer certainly was upset. He rode the lightning and he got taken down. You know, I'm kind of liking the way the cop describes this. He was charged in a June 25th. He was charged in a June 25th criminal information with battery on law enforcement, a felony resisting, a misdemeanor. Initially charged with simple battery for punching the other guy in the face. That was dropped. And he's free on $10,500 bond. He spent a total of 30 years behind bar and is scheduled for an August 11th pretrial. So I guess he'll get a good lawyer. Can we see the body cam? Just asking for a friend. Oh, you can see the body cam. So here we have police officers doing what they do, rushing to the scene. He's making sure. I'm going to turn this off because I don't want any foul language to come up on the radio. Police officers just sauntering in, and well, there's a guy laying on the ground there, and oh my, I thought I muted this. There we go. Let's see. No, let's turn it down. It's not gonna let me. Whoa. Wow. This officer is very upset. Wow. Oh. Alrighty then. That's what he said. All right then. Let's just get out of this before get into any more trouble with the FCC or anybody else. Chris says the cop was making a nice Metallica reference about riding the lightning. It's Friday. We could all use seeing a good tasing, right? That police officer was certainly angry. And I don't blame him. Good for the police officer. All right, so this comes to us from our friends at WTOP. And yes, you read the headline correctly. A man is arrested for throwing sex toys into a crowd at a WNBA game in Phoenix. Arizona man was arrested after police say he threw a sex toy into the crowd at a WNBA game. The latest in a series of similar disturbances at arenas across the league over the past several days. Police say the 18-year-old pulled the sex toy from his sweater pocket. It's at a sex toy in your pocket. Are you happy to see me? At Tuesday's matchup between the Phoenix Mercury, the Connecticut Sun, and threw it towards seats in front of him, striking a spectator in the back. I at least hope it was clean. The man later told police it was a prank that had been trending on social media, and he thought that the toy a day early. He bought the toy a day earlier to take the game. He was later tackled by a volunteer at the arena who had witnessed the melee and began following him as he tried to leave. Then says he was arrested on suspicion of assault, disorderly conduct, and publicly displaying explicit sexual material. All right. Over the last week, sex toys have been thrown onto the courts in Atlanta, LA, Chicago, and one landed last night near Indiana's Sophie Cunningham after it was thrown from the stands in LA. Players have said throwing toys at games is disrespectful and potentially dangerous. Chris says maybe the guy was just angry. It was April 29th and the place still had Christmas tree displayed. That could make you angry. He did look like an angry Santa Claus now that I think about it. So at least the gentleman that threw the sex toy, and I'm using that word very, very lightly. At least the man that threw the sex toy onto the court, it was a brand new one. So, but how would you like to be watching a baseball game or a basketball game and suddenly be whacked in the head by a sex toy? Good God. All right, we covered this story earlier this week. And we're finding out that the Fort Stewart shooter, well, he was bullied over stuttering. Sergeant Cornelius Radford, who was accused of shooting 5 fellow soldiers in Fort Stewart, Georgia, was, quote, bullied a lot over his stutter to the point of barely speaking, according to NBC News. Police said Radford, he's 28, an automated logistics sergeant from Jacksonville, Florida, used his personal handgun in Wednesday's attack. One fellow soldier told NBC News that Radford was bullied almost as soon as he joined the Army. So he was bullied about stuttering, so he shot his coworkers. Makes perfect sense. All right, so we talked about this, I think, yesterday, and I said J.D. Vance probably didn't know anything about that because I forgot to ask Yergs, because that's a Secret Service thing. So J.D. Vance had no idea the Ohio River was raised for protection on his birthday kayaking trip. The U.S. Secret Service said it was requested the increased water flow for the river to ensure motorized watercraft and emergency personnel could operate safely. His security detail was the one that had it raised last weekend to accommodate for the trip. Vice President's home, who is in Cincinnati, his family took part in a day of water sports to celebrate his 41st birthday. The U.S. Secret Service said it requested the increased water flow for the Little Miami River to ensure motorized watercraft and emergency personnel could operate safely while protecting the vice president. But critics immediately blasted the action as a sign of the vice president's entitlement, particularly given the Trump administration focus on slashing government spending. Well, according to Richard Palmer, who serves as the chief White House ethics lawyer under Bush, said on X, it's outrageous for any Army Corps of Engineers to spend taxpayer money to increase water flow in rivers so the VP can go canoeing when budget cuts to the National Park Service have so severely impacted vacations everyone. The Army Corps of Engineers, declined to address any financial impact. Spokesman Gene Paltic said the agency's Louisville district temporarily increased the outflow from the Caesar Creek in the southwest Ohio River in Little Miami to support, quote, safe navigation of the U.S. Secret Service personnel. He said the move met operational criteria and fell within normal practice. It was determined that the operation would not adversely affect downstream or upstream water levels, he said. Downstream stakeholders were notified in advance of the slight outflow increase, which occurred August 1st. Vance's birthday was on the 2nd. Vance's spokesman, Taylor Van Kirk, said the vice president was unaware the river had been raised. The Secret Service often employs protective measures without the knowledge of the protectees or the staff, as was the case with last weekend. The sprawling 2,830-acre Caesar Creek Lake has an unlimited horsepower designation and 5 launch ramps, according to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. The marina, campground, and lodge are also located there. The department provided two resource officers to assist Secret Service with the Vance event, according to a spokesperson. And the Vance family has already become accustomed to certain accommodations being made as they move around the world. During a recent trip to Italy, the Roman Colosseum was closed to the public so that his wife, Yusha, and her children could take a tour, sparking anger among tourists. The Taj Mahal was closed to visitors during the Vance's family visit to India. Well, such treatment isn't reserved to just one political party. Let's be fair about this now. When Democrat Vice President Al Gore, he was the presidential candidate, he paddled down the Connecticut River for a photo op in 1999. Well, utility officials had opened a dam and released 4 billion gallons of water to raise the river's level. That request, too, came within after a review of the area by U.S. Secret Service, and Gore also experienced political pushback. His campaign said at the time he did not ask for the water to be released. It's just safety and security. So come on now. And Chris says, remember in 2020 when people were burning down cities and rioting, but it was okay because they were angry and they needed a vent. Now tossing a sex toy on a basketball court will get you arrested. In fairness, Chris, he was kind of slapped with a unit on the back of the head. So, but I see your point. We covered this the other day. This is from WTOP also. The former TV Superman is going to be an honorary ICE officer. See, I said he wasn't going to go out on the streets and do anything. He was going to be a spokesperson. Dean Cain, the actor best known for portraying Superman on the 1990s television show, wants to join U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. In an interview with Fox News, Cain said he'd already spoken to the agency responsible for carrying out President Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda. Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, the Department of Homeland Security spokesperson, said Thursday that Cain would be sworn in as a, quote, honorary ICE officer in the coming month. It was immediately clear what his duties as a, quote, honorary officer would entail. Cain is 59. He told Fox News he was already a sworn deputy sheriff and reserve police officer. Earlier this week, he went to social media, encouraging others to join the agency. Department of Homeland Security said Wednesday that it is removing age limits for new hires at the agency responsible for immigration enforcement. It aims to expand hiring after a massive infusion of cash from Congress. Cain in the past decade has been outspoken in his conservative viewpoints and endorsed Trump in 3 elections. A representative for Cain did not respond to a request for comment. McLaughlin referred Cain's titular role in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, which ran from 93 to 97. In her statement, she said, Superman is encouraging Americans to become real American life heroes. Warner Brothers, which released a new Superman last month, didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. The film, which made over $500 million and stars David Corenswet, became a hot-button topic with right-wing commentators who criticized the movie as, quote, woke, after director James Gunn referred to the character as being a, quote, immigrant. All right. So Chris says 2020 is F your business, F your job. 2025, hit that dildo basketball player's foot, lock the place down. It's true. Well, speaking of crime, we said something about this the other day, and my buddy over on X, Penguin 6 on YouTube, well, he broke this story. More federal law enforcement officers will be patrolling D.C. streets over the next coming days to combat crimes. In the words of President Donald Trump's administration, quote, make the city safe again. District residents can expect to see an increased presence starting Friday at midnight. Oh, I'm sure my buddy will be on the street. According to a statement from the White House press secretary, Washington, D.C. is an amazing city, but has been plagued by violent crime for far too long, she said. Trump has directed an increased presence of federal law enforcement to protect innocent citizens. There will be no safe harbor for violent criminals. The boost in police patrols will take place for a week with an option to extend as needed, Levitt said. Making D.C. safe and beautiful task force law enforcement's working group will help up those patrols, Levitt said. The group includes 15 departments from various agencies, including Metro, U.S. Capitol, FBI, DEA. It's not clear on when and where the patrols will occur. Reporting live from the district just after 5 a.m., WTOP's Kyle Cooper said he spotted at least 6 marked Secret Service vehicles cruising back and forth along Lafayette Park in the World War II Memorial on Constitution Avenue. In front of the White House, at least one of the side entrances, it's unclear whether it's from normal, but there are a couple officers, some on bikes, some standing. That may be normal, but they are out and they are visible this morning to the public. Cooper detailed the upped police presence would have a focus on popular tourist areas, such as museums, memorials near Union Station. He described seeing federal cruisers parked with their lights on as some personnel were on foot at the backside of the building. I wouldn't call it overwhelming or something where you go, wow, look at that, but you do see a little more in certain areas, Cooper said, adding that he hadn't seen a notable spike in federal law enforcement officers inside Union Station. Trump hinted that the increased patrols were coming earlier this week after an assault on a former member of the Doge task force was assaulted on DuPont Circle. Well, I have been known to hang out the intersection of 14th and K, Wendell, but you'd have to know the area to get that. So, wrong button. DC did used to be a really safe city, and growing up, I was a freelance photographer, and I would often roam, walking the streets, taking public transportation with my camera and all my gear, and I never had a problem. Now, the statistics that they are using to bring this on, I think, are a little bit skewed because they're comparing DC to countries, which I think is an unfair comparison, but there has been a slight uptick. But what everybody fails to remember is, I think it's like 1 in 6 or so. It's pretty high statistics. Almost every 6th vehicle or so is a federal law enforcement officer of some kind vehicle. So, and most federal law enforcement officers have a duty to act, as most police do, but within DC, they especially have a duty to act if they see anything. So, I don't know. Wendell says, I do know that area. I used to drive through there and laugh at the guys. Well, maybe you laughed at me. There was a place on the corner of 14th and K called The Rogue. I used to frequent on weekends. All right, so the horn dog on duty, we reported on this earlier. The brazen cop is under fire after revealing the not safe for work reason that everyone is getting a ticket. She insists, though, that she was only joking. Well, some people said, please pull me over. She's receiving major backlash after joking about writing everyone a ticket. Jennifer Escalera, a Texas deputy with the Harris County Constable, Precinct 5, has responded to criticism she received about a joke she made on the talk. Well, she's under investigation now, and, well, She's pleasant on the eye. She posted a viral video of her sitting in her police car saying that she would write a ticket to everyone she pulled over since she didn't have sex the night before. All right. So see, what we should do is we should find her boyfriend and ask him what the hell. Didn't get cracked last night, so everyone's getting a ticket. I didn't know cracked was a slang. She said in the now deleted video. Despite her threat, she reportedly didn't give anyone a ticket that day, TMZ is reporting. Spokesperson for the constable told the outlet that the officer is under investigation but will remain active pending the outcome of the probe. Our administration is aware and the Internal Affairs is open to investigation. We have no further comment. Houston residents and social media users alike don't approve of the cops' actions. I think it's really inappropriate and disrespectful, resident Alice Fitch told the outlet. All right, so she didn't get cracked. I didn't really know that was a thing. All right. Wendell says, I know you like the rainbow crosswalks. Actually, no, Wendell, I didn't. Astronomers say, and that was there one in D.C.? I know there was one in Atlanta. Was there one in D.C.? Astronomers say unidentified object could be an alien spacecraft. We've never seen such a thing. Well, Avi Loeb suggested that NASA may have rushed to conclusions by ruling out the possibility of a, quote, artificial aircraft. Well, the plot of the movie Independence Day could soon become a reality. Well, you know what? This annoys me, so we're going to have to find out more. We're going to find a new story that'll let us see, because that's annoying me. You shouldn't have an article if you don't want to let us see it. Here we go. What does this say? Well, here we go. Go away. Scientists are watching a newly discovered object in space, and most of them agree it's a comet, but not all of them. A Harvard scientist who has seen, quote, proof of alien life before, suspect this object may instead have alien origins. Professor Avi Loeb said there are clear signs that the comet known as 31 Atlas could be an alien craft. We should put all possibilities on the table that it's a rock, a comet, or something else until we get evidence. The data that will tell us what it is. Professor Loeb and his team say the interstellar object is on an extremely unusual course for a comet, one that will take it close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. So the object appears to be, quote, intelligently directed as if it's alien. The world should prepare. I think that when we have a blind date from a visitor from another star, all bets are off, Loeb said. We shouldn't assume anything, and we should assess the risk given the data that we have. Loeb said the risk should be assessed using something like the Richter scale for earthquakes. 0 would be natural objects like a comet. 10 would be an object that maneuvers as if it has an engine that is definitely technological. And then there should be some policymakers deciding how to respond. He says it will pass closest to the sun 29 October. We see a lot of houses on the cosmic street that look like ours, analogs of Earth's sun system, he said. And I think it's very arrogant of us to assume that they don't have residents. Well, is it a false flag? Are the aliens coming for us? So, see, Wendell, I was hoping it was going to be close to that so I can say it. 3 Americans were dramatically rescued from an Antarctic base, which is 2,700 miles from civilization. I applied to be a paramedic on that base. The Royal New Zealand Air Force managed to locate and rescue 3 Americans who were trapped in an Antarctic research base. Early on Wednesday morning, the Royal New Zealand Air Force saved 3 Americans from a U.S. research facility in Antarctica. According to an RNZAF news release on Wednesday, they landed a C-130J Hercules at the McMurdo station in complete darkness and severe weather. There, it evacuated 1 person who required urgent medical care and 2 others who needed medical assistance. They did not report on the patient's condition. They just mentioned that the medical care they needed was not provided by the workers at the station. So the mission wasn't just difficult, it was one of those technically demanding operations an air crew can face, according to the press release. So Wednesday said it was a news release from the U.S. Embassy and the consulate in New Zealand. Extreme conditions with little margin for error. They executed this midwinter Antarctic medevac flawlessly. So, according to CBS News, the distress call was issued by the National Science Foundation of the United States, which operates the stations. According to the Air Force news release, they prepared to take off the emergency flight leaving from Christchurch, New Zealand by Sunday night, but weather and other circumstances preventing them from doing so. The crew only attempted the flight after a detailed analysis of the weather and airfield state. The United States Antarctic Program Winter Team must physically create the runway before we can depart by ensuring the ice is groomed and suitable for landing, according to the air commander. However, the air crew took advantage of an opportunity and set off Tuesday night what would turn out to be almost a 20-hour round-trip journey. According to the announcement, the air crew refueled while leaving the engines running after landing at the research station. This procedure is known as hot refueling. Yes, it is. It keeps the engines from freezing. The crew returned to Christchurch on Wednesday without incident. Landing a large aircraft on ice and darkness using only night vision takes precision and extraordinary skill. We are deeply grateful for the crew's professionalism, courage, and partnership. This mission was nothing short of heroic, the U.S. Embassy in New Zealand wrote. So, yes, that's that area of the world is got people up there and they don't even know about it. It's crazy. At our black hole window. So outrage erupts as a Democrat senator is accused of doxing ICE agents and endangering lives. Arizona State Senator Annalise Ortiz has faced fierce backlash over her social media posts warning migrants of ICE raids, with some calling for her to be, quote, deported. Well, that seems a bit harsh. A Democrat senator has been slammed over her social media posts about the sightings of ICE and the enforcement squads. Arizona State Senator is facing demands for her removal from legislature, claiming she is receiving death threats and she claims she is receiving death threats and even may face legal action. Her actions caught the attention of influential right-wing libs of TikTok who claim that Ortiz was actively impeding and doxing ICE by posting their live locations. It comes after one unexpected state saw a surge in illegal border crossings under Trump. Following the post, Senate President Warren Peterson announced he had requested the U.S. Attorney for Arizona to initiate an investigation into potential violations of federal law. In response, she retorted, public servants have a duty to uphold the law and respect those who enforce it, not undermine them. State Senator Jake Hoffman demanded X removal from Arizona's Senate and announced his intention to file an ethics complaint. She's doxing ICE agents and openly putting the lives of American law enforcement at risk. Department of Homeland Secretary Tricia McLaughlin accused her of prioritizing illegal criminals over American citizens. She declared Arizona State Senator Annalise Ortiz is siding with the vicious cartels, human traffickers, and violent criminals over American cities. The Trump official further added, notifying the public about ICE law enforcement operations endangers not only law enforcement, it weakens national security, American national security. I'm not intimidated by this because what I did was simply alert my community to stay away from an area where ICE could be to help themselves stay safe, Ortiz told ABC. That is First Amendment protected. She mentioned that many in her community are fearful of ICE raids, noting that legal residents have been detained. She likened her post to the apps that inform people about speed camera for drivers. Everyone has a right to know where the public activity is going on so they can choose to protect themselves. It's funny, she's on that side, but I guarantee if you ask her, should law enforcement communications be non-encrypted and available for us all to hear, she'll tell you no. I have received death threats, calls for my arrest, calls for my deportation, even though I'm a United States citizen born and raised in Arizona. It's disgusting. She added, I'm getting people telling me that I need to be arrested and they're going to find me. They have my address. This is serious stuff. Hobbs also expressed her concern about the safety of law enforcement in light of posts like Ortiz. She commented, certainly have concerns where I've seen officers conducting a raid and being targeted, and we want to make sure that it's not a situation that's being used to create here. I assume they mean that they're trying to create a situation to harm law enforcement. All right, so this yesterday broke, and we didn't get a chance to cover it, but we'll talk about it now. President Trump reportedly issued a directive to the Pentagon to initiate military action against certain Latin American drug cartels, which his administration has classified as terrorist organizations, sources have told the New York Times. Now, this is funny. If you watched Penguin 6's video last night, Pete Hegseth was seen walking into the White House unexpectedly, and he seemed kind of rushed, and he had several military attaches with him, and they were all trying to get a picture and ask questions, and of course he was just smiling and nodding. So that brought up the fact, why is he here? So, and then remember we talked about yesterday, Trump had some closed door meetings. So there you go. The move to involve the American military marks the most assertive step yet in the administration's intensifying campaign against the cartels and shows Trump's readiness to deploy military forces to carry out responsibilities of the country's law enforcement. The New York Times reported that the order provides a, quote, official basis for the possibility of direct military operations at sea and on foreign soil against cartels. Sources who wish to be anonymous told the outlet that military officials have started planning how the military will pursue the, quote, terrorist groups. It is not detailed what the White House, Pentagon, or State Department lawyers has said about the directive, or the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel, who analyzed the legality of the directive. The deployment of the U.S. military follows Trump's dedication to facing the drug crisis in the United States, as Trump has focused on the drug fentanyl specifically. In July, the president signed the HALT Fentanyl Act into law, surrounded by families who lost loved ones to the scourge of fentanyl. The law classifies any fentanyl-related substance as Schedule I drug under the Controlled Substance Act. Trump said the move marked another defeat for the savage drug smugglers and the cartels. In the last 4 years, fentanyl has become the number one killer for Americans from age 15 to 48. President Trump said, for 4 years, we felt ignored, President Trump, for 4 years, we felt ignored, but you've changed that, said Ann Fundner, who lost her son to fentanyl. It's a lifeline to families across America, keeping our families safe. Thank you for keeping our safe for our children. It's what we voted for. So, and he also put a bounty, $50 million bounty on Venezuela president's head. Really didn't know what the deal was with that, but I think we might talk about it. This comes to us from Metro Atlanta, and I just want this story as a backflow to other stories we've talked about, and just throw this out there for your opinion. A Metro Atlanta man is accused of making racist threats online, and he is denied bond. Fairburn, Georgia, a 42-year-old Metro Atlanta man was accused of making racist and, quote, anti-Semitic threats online. He will remain in jail. Fairburn man Christopher Robertson appeared in federal court earlier this week after being accused of posting videos threatening Jews and blacks on social media, and as well as, quote, visiting several Jewish facilities across Metro Atlanta. Federal authorities said Robertson posted a series of videos online where he made racial threats and claimed to be the, quote, official spokesperson for the white race. I didn't nominate him. On July 30th, he was seen wandering around the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta and later at a synagogue in Midtown, where he's accused of making derogatory remarks about Jewish people. Robertson, who calls himself James Lomack, was arrested on Friday after a long standoff with the FBI. These types of threats are not taken lightly. Theodore Hertzberg, a U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, say officials will aggressively prosecute anyone who utilizes the internet to threaten and intimidate our people. If convicted, he could face 5 years behind bars. So he is not going to be able to make bond, but others could tell law enforcement where ICE agents are and harm them. There's a key word in this that we talked about yesterday, anti-Semitic threats. There's key words there. Just throwing that out there. So that's not, it's, as our former president would say, that's not hyperbole. Chris says, I guess when past administrations labeled Catholics interested in the traditional Latin Mass and school parents arguing at PTA meetings as domestic terrorists, it's kind of opened the door for this. Well, I didn't realize though that we could put a bounty on another country's leader's head. That to me kind of blew me away at today's headlines. This is from Tennessee, come out last night. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee has mobilized the National Guard to help ICE in this state, Tennessee. This move comes in response to the U.S. Department of Homeland's request for assistance. Guardsmen will be helping with administrative and clerical duties at Immigration and Customs Enforcement's processing facilities within the state. The governor has said many times Tennessee stands ready to support President Trump's effort to secure our nation's border and remove the most violent criminals from our state. Well, here's a mayor in another city. Seattle mayor tells criminals, quote, he'll simply pay to fix their vandalism instead of throwing them in jail. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell just launched a new program to help small businesses recover from crime. That sentence alone should be enough to make your blood boil. He doesn't even bother to pay lip service to addressing the crimes causing the damage he'll pay to fix. It's called, quote, back to business. And on paper, it sounds reasonable. Reimburse business owners up to $3,000 for vandalism and offer up to $6,000 for preventative security upgrades. But this isn't a bold new strategy. It's a lazy bandage to cover a gaping wound, one inflicted by the very politicians now pretending to be the solution. Harrell has done little to tackle the crime crisis Democrats created, to the extent that things have gotten better, which is undoubtedly true if it was in spite of Harrell's efforts, not because of them. Now that crime is so visible and it's affecting his re-election campaign, he is tossing a few taxpayer dollars at the symptoms while ignoring the cause. The Seattle mayor is in damage control before the election. What he calls a real solution is in fact a real insult. Every shattered window, broken door, or vandalized storefront isn't just a repair bill. It's a real setback for business owners and employees' livelihoods and a neighborhood's vitality, Harrell said in a press release. He's right. It's a warning sign of a city that isn't taking the crime seriously enough, though. But it's also the byproduct of his policies he's either supported or failed to correct. Businesses are not broken because of bad luck. They're broken because criminals know they can act with impunity. And what does Harrell do in response? A refund program. This is not leadership. It's damage control before an election. A taxpayer-funded campaign stunt. The mayor's office tried to paint this part of a broader economic recovery strategy. In reality, it's a taxpayer-funded campaign stunt. Throw some money at a few broken windows and hope voters forget the years of broken promises. What small businesses actually need isn't a reimbursement form. They need cops, real policing. They need a mayor willing to prioritize public safety with actual law enforcement support, not neighborhood grants and red tape heavy reimbursements. How many homeless people have to commit crimes on 3rd and Blanchard in Belltown before the mayor truly acts? How many people have to be terrorized in the International District before a meaningful change? If you're a criminal in Seattle, this program tells you everything you need to know. You can destroy private property and the city won't stop you. They'll just clean up after you and hand out gift cards. Harrell's plan doesn't deter crime. It budgets for it. There you go. That comes from the Seattle radio station where they're talking about their mayor's election and how he's doing crazy stuff. It's top of the hour. Good afternoon, good morning, good day. I have a button here I have to push. Let me find it. And here we go.
You're listening to a Dare Media Group radio station. Daring Australian Radio Entertainment. Dare Media Group is the home of these online radio stations: Radio X Gold, Radio X Country, 6RXM Radio X Magic, and Dare Talk Radio. Find out more at daremediagroup.com.au.
You're tuned to the Sportcat Show.
And there you go. Thank you for tuning in on Dare Media Radio X. Everyone in Australia, we encourage you to come over and join in the chat. We have a great live chat. Come over and find us on the YouTubes. Search out the Sportcat shows or the Paranormal Guys with a Z. All right, so we got a couple little quick headlines before we get to other things. The U.S. Air Force is looking to buy 2 Tesla trucks for use as targets for precision munitions during targeting, testing, and training. Service says it needs these vehicles for this purpose specifically because of the prospect of, quote, unspecified adversaries driving around in them in the future. The Cybertrucks are among 33 target vehicles the Air Force Test Center is looking to acquire and have delivered to White Sands. Contracting documents are posted online. The site is run by the U.S. Army, but the Air Force has significant presence there. There are no name brand requirements for other sedans, bongo trucks, pickups, and SUVs. There's also on their proposed shopping list intended for use as target vehicles in the support of U.S. Special Operation Command's standoff precision guided munitions. That's a lot of words. It's for training purposes. So we're going to fire Hellfire missiles at Cybertrucks. I don't understand. And small bombs. Well, they won't say why they need them, but they want to be able to roll them in, tow them in, and then bomb them, basically. But they don't say who they're training for. It's kind of odd. So I don't understand. You can find the RFP online, and they don't elaborate where the operating theater or the enemy is in question, but you can reach out to the Air Force and search it out. They're looking for 2 Tesla Cybertrucks to shoot at. Interesting. The Army has launched its own spiritual fitness guide. By the way, in case you didn't know it, you can go online and find most military manuals, including this one. This is a new guide, along with Battle Book, are meant to help soldiers' resilience and readiness. The Army is looking to strengthen soldiers' abilities in the spiritual domain, which encompasses mental and emotional health, such as services rolled out by the new Spiritual Fitness Guide this month to help soldiers develop greater internal resilience alongside physical endurance. The Army released the new guide as the Battle Book to go with it on August 1st. The 9-chapter guide, which is functions like a physical fitness guide, but for spirit. The new material comes as part of the Army's Holistic Health and Fitness Program, also known as H2F, a reshaping of the service's focus on wellness and physical fitness. The guide was developed in fall of 2024. The Army's Chaplain Corps Regimental Sergeant Major said in a statement, to task and purpose, the new guide offers a framework for how to train soldiers and what it calls the, quote, spiritual domain, just as the Army has done for physical fitness. It is a practical, leader-focused resource highlighting the importance of spiritual readiness, defined as the ability to endure, overcoming growth through adversary, Simmons said. It offers doctrinal alignment and inclusive approaches to spiritual development that can be applied to the unit level, regardless of the individual's belief. The Army in the guide itself said that it does not follow any particular religion, doctrine, or line, but instead focuses on the soldiers finding their, quote, source of strength, which could be religious or not. Rather than faith-based prescriptions, the Army document treats spiritual development as a scalable part of military life, with suggestions for unit leaders on how to foster mindfulness and a greater sense of purpose. The Army previously defined, quote, spiritual readiness as personal qualities needed to sustain a person in times of stress, hardship, or tragedy. As such, the guide cites an array of motivational quotes ranging from General Patton to President Lincoln. It also lays out what the Army sees as the 4 stages of spiritual development. The first is external, were identified is shaped in external forces acting upon them. From there, they can develop to the agency stage, where they start to take direct control of their lives. Then the purpose stage. The Army defines the final level of development as the empowered stage, where concern for the big picture becomes paramount. Alongside the guide, the Army also launched, quote, battle book, tied to the spiritual fitness aspect. It's a field-ready manual meant as a kind of hands-on companion to the spiritual fitness guide. So you can actually download most military documents online, including this one. I have downloaded this one. I'm going to take a look at it over the weekend. All right, one last story. It is football season, or starting to be football season in the NFL. Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, well, he shows his true colors at training camp interaction with service members. Josh Allen showed his true colors towards American military service members after Tuesday's Buffalo Bills training camp practice, taking off his hat to shake each of their hands. Allen is not only in the spotlight position as by far the biggest star on the Bills, he's also one of the most elite names in the entire NFL, giving extra importance to every action he takes. The critical moments of Tuesday's interaction sees Allen mobbed by fans asking for an autograph, a dozen or so signatures in. The 29-year-old sees 4 service members out of the corner of his eye. After he finishes the autographs for the fans, including standing between himself and other service member, the signal caller removed his cap to give each one of them a firm handshake. And he can be saying something brief to each service member who were also in the line for autograph, which was likely thank you. Allen then returned to the first service member in line and signed each of their items before continuing on with the signatures. So there you go. NFL and Bills fan has been responded universally positive to his gesture, with several comments like, that boy was raised right. So I'm not necessarily a huge Buffalo Bills fan, but that was very, very nice of him. So kudos to him. All right, let's get on with what we normally do here. Besides for the silliness, there's a lot of silliness going on here. We have the FEMA Daily Operations Brief. This was presented to the president this morning, Friday, August 8th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And, well, this is the public version, not the secret squirrel version. I want the secret squirrel version. Severe storm. There are no significant ongoing operations, or new ongoing operations. They are monitoring severe thunderstorms, heavy rain, and flash flooding in the northern plains, critical fire weather in the central basin and Rockies, excessive heat in California's southwest and the plains, tropical activity in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. So they've approved a declaration activity for the Canyon Fire in California. And, well, a tropical storm, I'd say it's Paru. I don't know. I'm probably pronounced that wrong, but it's 480 miles northeast of the Anderson Air Force Base in Guam. Maximum sustained winds of 46 miles per hour with higher gusts. And the next 12 to 24 hours, we will see surges of heavy showers and gusty winds within the west winds feeding Paru. All right, so there will be also statements issued by the National Weather Service. In Henriette, well, she's 975 miles east of Hileo. She's got a maximum sustained wind of 40 miles an hour. She is moving west at 17 miles per hour. And tropical force winds extend out for 60 miles from the center. They're expecting little change or strengthening during the next 48 hours. And Ivo, well, he's 180 miles southeast of the tip of Baja. I'll remember that for a later incident we're going to talk about. Hopefully we'll get time. I need to rush through this, so we do. Tropical force has got winds of up to 60 miles an hour, extending outward for 45 miles. Strengthening is forecasted and expected to become a hurricane later today or tonight. Over the Atlantic, Disturbance 1, well, they ain't got a name for it yet. It's a couple hundred miles offshore of North Carolina. It's moving northeast 10 to 15 miles per hour. Now, they're still saying the formation chance of it is possible over the next day or two. In the next 48 hours, pretty low. The next 7 days, 10%. So it's a possibility. Could never say never. All right, a tropical wave over the eastern tropical Atlanta could form late this weekend or early next week. It'll move west-northwest to the northwest across the central tropic subtropic. Formation chances during the next 48 hours, well, near zero. But over 7 days, be on the lookout. They've changed it to 50%. It's went from 80 to 60 to now 50. Okay, so yesterday we talked about the storms in North Dakota. Well, in North Dakota, you're going to get a soggy break, but all that is pushing over into Minnesota and Wisconsin and down into Iowa. Why'd I say Idaho? At any rate, be on the lookout for severe thunderstorms today if you're in those areas of the country, but you can expect pretty much in the Midwest, Northwest, and over to the Boston areas and New England area, spotty rain showers, but that's going to extend really all the way down from Wisconsin and Michigan to the Keys and back over to the Panhandle. Once again, I think I said this wrong. North Dakota, South Dakota, you're still going to have some chances of storms, but Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa all are under the gun for severe storms. Now that's going to move to the east, southeast slightly tomorrow, but it's only going to move it down to Iowa and Illinois, so they need to be on guard. And then later over the weekend on Sunday, the center of the country is going to see a pretty good soaking. Excessive heat, yeah, it's hot. It's hot. Excessive heat, well, we have warnings on the West Coast and down into Baja and also pretty much all of Arizona, Southern California. And if you look on the bigger picture, all along the west side of the Mississippi is code orange, but you get over into the Four Corners, Colorado, Denver, New Mexico, you're looking at some extreme heat. We'll talk about that in a bit. The fire weather warning for today, well, it's critical pretty much for Mexico, Colorado, Nevada. It's that whole area right there has got a pretty good chance of fire problems for the next 48 hours. So the canyon fire in California is 0% contained. I don't know if you've been following this, but it was burning at 1,000 acres per hour. So far, it has burned 4,856 acres with zero containment. And they are trying to get this under control, but they are not having much luck. So keep an eye on that. Wildfire summary, well, we've talked about the one in Utah. It is 18% contained. The two in Colorado, well, they're 0% contained. And look at the acres burned in Utah, 66,000. Colorado, two separate storms, fires, one at 58,000, the other at 15,000 acres. Yeah, so it's cooking. For the next 24 hours, well, nothing for the space weather outlook and the spacecraft visitors in the next 24 hours. We need a warning sail, like purple, blue, green, whatever. Here is the map of FEMA operating, and we see that they have 17 joint field offices. They are working with 64 major disasters, 7 emergency declarations. They're still helping with direct housing mission and repopulation in 12 areas, and there's 14 supported disasters with 6 joint recovery offices established. So if you look across the country there's very few states that don't have FEMA help going on right now. And we talked about this yesterday. Vermont, severe storms and heavy rainfall. They have given preliminary damage assessments and things in progress. These are from the storms from late July. So, all right. So that's it for the FEMA Daily Brief. Let's get the president's schedule today. Let's travel back in time, look at yesterday, see if we missed anything. Well, Tom Holman, he was at the Sticks. We talked about that. And the president made an announcement at 4:30, and they closed the lid at 6. But sometime around the Tom Holman Sticks time is when Hegseth came to the White House. 9 a.m., well, it was the normal in-pool call time for the media. 11:02, there's a lunch lid on the White House. And the president signs more executive orders at noon, so we've already missed that. And at 4 o'clock today, he's going to deliver remarks in the East Room. So I'll look forward to that tonight to see what is going on. Let's look here at WRC and see they have live updates to the Trump administration. And we'll see here that Live updates. Trump and Putin will meet next week. Okay. The DOJ has opened a probe into the New York Attorney General. Interesting. Trump and Vladimir Putin will hold a summit at the end of next week to discuss a ceasefire, according to a senior White House official. The Trump DOJ has launched an investigation into New York Attorney General Letitia James' office over her business fraud case against Trump that led to a massive civil judgment against him and his businesses. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is vowing to amp up pressure against the Democrat legislators who fled the state to prevent a quorum for a GOP redistricting vote by repeatedly calling special legislative sessions at the cost on the lawmakers from being away mount, as the cost of them being away mount. The EPA says it is canceling a $7 billion Biden-era grant program to boost solar energy. And yesterday we discussed as Israel says it will take over Gaza City, escalating its war with Hamas and Palestine. All right, so there's no quorum still as the Texas Democrats are out of town. Pam Bondi tops Ed Martin as the special attorney to invest Letitia James and Adam Schiff. Zelensky sidelined from Ukraine war talks. Trump appears to hand Putin a diplomatic win. My little guy, poor fella. Appeals court blocks contempt proceedings against Trump officials over deportation. A federal judge abused his authority in pursuing contempt proceedings against Trump administration officials over deportation flights carried out under the Alien Enemies Act, a federal appeals court ruled on Friday. The three-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit Court was split 2-1 with two Trump appointees in the majority and an Obama appointee dissenting. Why does that matter? This is law and order. The Lady Justice is blind. The decision overturns Washington-based Chief Judge Jason Boasberg's finding of probable cause that officials could be held in criminal contempt over flights that removed alleged gang members from the USA after he had ordered them to halt. Attorney General said immediately on X the decision as a major victory that will aid the Trump administration in carry out the mass deportations. And we discussed that. We mentioned that. And we're going to be probing people. Vance acknowledges constant negotiations about humanitarian aid in Gaza. Advocacy group sues the DOJ and FBI for access to Epstein records. National Weather Service is going to rehire workers after a deep DOJ cut. Judge considers ending an agreement on protecting detained children. Okay. A federal judge is hearing Trump administration's request to end a nearly 3-decade policy ensuring safe conditions for child detainees. The policy limits how long immigrant children can be held, requires safe and sanitary conditions, and allows third-party inspections. The Trump administration says substantial improvements since 1997 make this oversight unnecessary. All right. Trump to host peace treaty signing between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Germany suspends exports of military equipment that could be used in Gaza. Trump orders increased federal law enforcement in D.C. Governor Abbott is amping the pressure on Democrats in Texas. All right, there's that. National briefing. Pretty much the same we discussed. We see here Minnesota, Wisconsin, the severe thunderstorms are possible tomorrow. It's not going to get much better for you. It's going to move slightly to the southeast. And then on day 3, which is Sunday, it's going to be heavy rainfall in the center part of the country. Let's go back for a minute here. I wanted to look at Go back. All right. The Atlantic graphical forecast. This comes from the National Hurricane Center. We see here that this one, which is disturbance number 1, they don't anticipate it doing much over the next 48 hours. Actually, the next 7 days, it's going to continue to move to the northeast, up and out of the way. Now, this one, well, it gets a little shady in the next 7 days, but it only has a 40% chance of forming. Now, the only possibility currently that can see any issues is Bermuda. So take cover if you're in Bermuda. Let's see. What else do I want to see? I think that was it from this page. All right. So this is the tornado cast. I bring this up because of the severe weather up in the Midwest. And they're listing it, the National Weather Service, only at 5% today for Wisconsin and Michigan. But I think the chances are a little bit greater. So be on edge if you're in that part of the world. If you're pretty much up there, the Dakotas, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, be on the lookout for high winds today, because the storm has the potential for causing some serious havoc to pretty much most of the central part of the United States with high winds. As always, I encourage you to have a weather radio. Be weather prepared. Have a flashlight, have a pocket tool, and have a weather radio nearby, or an app on your phone that alerts you, because they can happen quickly and be upon you. So also, the chance of hail up to penny size is a good possibility up in the Midwest. So please, if you're in that area, please be weather aware, because the chance of hail today is greater. All right. Let's look real quick here. Let me enlarge this. This is our weather and satellite view. Let's jump down here to Australia, because we've talked about America so much. It's only fair to talk about our friends in Australia. And we'll look here over on the west side. Well, Rockhampton, today it's going to be rainy with a high of 65, a low of 60. Brisbane, it's going to be cloudy. It's already cloudy. 57 to 65. Sydney, well, Sydney, you're looking at rainy skies today. 56 as your low, 59 as your high. It's not going to get much better. Melbourne, today is going to be sunny for you. It's partly cloudy right now, actually, but you're only going to have a high of 58. And I heard in some parts of Australia, they saw rare, very rare snowfall. Today in South Australia, you can anticipate cloudy skies, high of only 64. It's going to be down in the low 40s. Over in Perth, rainy, 60 to 65 is your high. In Carnarvon, I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sure, high 74. The low is 62 in partly cloudy skies. Up in Broome, well, you're looking at a high of 82. Nice and sunny for you today. Darwin, well, you're going to be nice and sunny. High of 90. So Papua New Guinea, well, you could anticipate a high of 69 and rainy 66. Down in Hobart, you will see partly cloudy skies. A high of only 54 and a low of 43. And we look there at your satellite view, and it is cloudy over most of the country. Let's hop over here to America. We see there the path of what used to be Dexter will just be going out to sea. This disturbance is just kind of sitting there. So and this one is forming back here, and this is the next one that they think is going to be a problem in the next 7 days. All right, so New York City, well, it's going to be sunny with a high of 80. Washington, D.C., well, it is 80 and sunny. Hop down to Atlanta. It is 82 and 67. I swear it's already hotter than that here in Knoxville. Tampa, you're looking at a high of 87 with rain today. Going over to Houston, you're looking at 96 is your high. Whew, and partly cloudy skies. Chicago, how are you doing today? Chicago, 91 is your high and a partly cloudy day. Let's go over to Seattle and see what they're doing today. Seattle, high of 75, partly cloudy and 54. San Francisco, well, San Francisco, you only have a high of 71 with a low of 58. LA, well, you're going to be sunny at 90. Bright, clear skies. Tonight, it may get down to 64. Salt Lake City, beautiful city, 79 degrees with a low of 64. We see as we zoom in on the lower 48, that pretty much from the Keys all the way up through pretty much New England, cloudy to partly cloudy skies, and back over to the west, we see the cloudy skies in the Midwest. Let's see, we just looked at that. I wanted to bring this up yesterday. Yes, you're correct. They are having a large amount of animals washing up on the beach in Australia, and they suspect that Chinese are doing something. There's some talk in the conspiracy world about that, yes. I'm going to download this while I think, because I'm going to send this to Yergs. I thought this would be timely. Okay, working on it. Save. I thought this would be timely when we're starting to worry about the hurricanes. So this is a preparedness checklist for pets. So you want to consider these options for your pet's location during a hurricane. You want to take your pet to a friend or family member's house or a hotel outside of the threat zones. You need to make those arrangements ahead of time to avoid last-minute surprises. Keep your pet in a secure, storm-prepared location. You can find pet shelters. Leave your pet with a friend in a safe zone. Keep your pet prepared at all times. Keep your pet up to date on their shots. Maintain proper paperwork. Make sure your pet is microchipped and is wearing vaccination tags. Keep electronic and paper copies of your current medical records for your furry friend. Items you should have, well, portable carrier, an extra leash, an ID tag, pet food, at least 2 weeks. Store it in a watertight container or use canned cat food, but you probably should have a manual can opener. Water, you should have at least 2 weeks of clean water. Large dogs need about a gallon per day. Ironically, so do humans. You want to make sure they are up to date on all their immunizations. They have any medications they need. Flea and tick, heartworm should have at least 2 months supply. That's funny. They don't want you to have that much. I talked to the veterinarian about that. Litter and newspaper for cleanup. Toys and treats. It's always good to have treats for your furry friends. Towels, first aid supplies, and always have a recent photo of your pet. I'm really on to this because I think Ginger was separated from her family during a hurricane and got lost and ended up being on the streets and was almost euthanized until I came to her rescue. All right, so we're going to look at weather warning. It's always a good idea. Chris says, YouTube doesn't like when you mention derogatory things about that country. They may or not be responsible for those animal allegations. We love China. We love YouTube. Yes, I do find other sites start calling them like the red dragon or the bear or the eagle, and they start putting all these terms on it, and they're like, well, if we don't, YouTube's gonna cut into our algorithm. Well, that may be true until the algorithm figures out the code word you're using, so why not just say it? I mean, I don't know. I'm an equal opportunity discriminator. Well, up in Maryland, Montgomery County, shocking news, they're doing test messaging. Boy, I tell you, up in Maryland, they must get tired of getting all these test messages. Kansas, Nebraska, you have a heat advisory. There's a shocker. Georgia, well, flooding again. And we jump down to all the coastlines, and in the Gulf of America, there's some kind of either small craft advisory or flood advisory. So if you're out on a boat this weekend, please have a marine weather radar as well as a weather radio and be aware of your surroundings. California has a heat advisory. Yes, they do. And a dense fog advisory. Well, that's only got 30 minutes left. New Mexico, you have a heat advisory probably for about the next 10 hours. Flooding on the North Carolina coast with beach hazards. And we get back into the heat advisories for California and the flood warnings for the South. Up in Wisconsin, there's a beach hazard statement. All right, let's look at that one. Life-threatening waves 3 to 5 feet are expected in the Sheboygan and Ozaukee counties from Saturday afternoon through Saturday evening. Dangerous swimming conditions are expected due to the high waves and onshore winds. Stay out of the water and away from dangerous areas like piers and breakwalls. There you go. If you're up there this weekend trying to enjoy some activities, be weather aware. Texas, Oklahoma, extreme, Missouri, in Kansas, you have the heat warnings advisories as well. Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, all of you pretty much straight up the center of the country. code orange, code red for heat today. All right. I'm trying to hurry because I want to get to something different, a little different today. We may just jump through some of this real quick. We look here. This is the lower 48, and we see all of the advisories we just talked about. The heat advisories extend from the Great Lake down to the Gulf of America on the west side of the Mississippi. And over here in the central part of the country, we're talking about the Four Corners area from Salt Lake, Colorado, pretty much Arizona, New Mexico. That whole area is red flag warning for fires. Extreme heat warnings down here in the Baja, in California, Southern California, pretty much all of Arizona. Over on the coast, you see where these storms are forming. This is where a lot of the craft advisories are. They extend up into the Chesapeake on both sides of the Maryland and Virginia, as well as it wraps around down here all the way to the Keys. So if you're out on a boat this weekend, be careful. The waves are going to be kind of high and the weather can be bad. Let's look at lightning activity currently. I'm going to skip through this real quick. And we look up here and, it looks like Lake Huron, at the Canadian border, there's a really strong storm there. Over in Vermont, they don't get too many storms. That's why I always check in on them. It looks like this storm is up in Bristol. It is just to the west of Middlesbury, to the north of Brandon. It's a pretty good sized little cell for them. Over here in Rutland. And is that Montpelier? Well, it looks like to the west of Rutland, there's a pretty good sized cell. There's going to be some cells coming across Lake Champlain there. So if you're up in the northeast, especially in Vermont, be weather aware. These storms coming from the Chesapeake all the way down to the Keys are off the shores. They're causing a lot of electrical activity and a lot of high winds, and as well, that's making the waves rough. Florida, you're being lit up right now from Homestead to Gainesville. You have intermittent storms all over with lots of electrical activity offshore. I would hate to be on an oil rig today. There's a lot of electrical activity that's going to be moving to the northeast. If you're a dinosaur in the Keys, remain vigilant. Correct. I will never forget that. That was the funniest thing. Over in Louisiana, you have a cell, a really strong cell right there off the coast and coming inland at Homa. So be aware there. That's to the southwest of New Orleans, but it will be moving to the east-northeast up to New Orleans. Looks like here, Houston, more over towards Port Arthur, there's a pretty good size cell too. All right, let's hop over to the lightning activity that has caused power outages. And so far, it looks like there's not. Nope, I'll take that back. Nebraska, 18,594 people are without power. Must be pretty evenly spread because it's not showing it. I'm sorry, that's not Nebraska. Did I say Nebraska? Illinois. 18,594 people are without power. Must be spread pretty evenly because it's not showing one particular county as opposed to another. California, it's probably going to be due to the fires and the heat. El Dorado, yes, 4,619 is where the most are without power, but a total in California of 10,285 are without power. Let's see. What is this map? I don't know what this map is. It's giving me a headache. All right, well, we'll move on. This map is not showing me anything. All right, here is a big, beautiful, perfect round globe that shows the AI wind. You can see, as we discussed, a lot of that wind is offshore of the U.S. from the storms moving to the northeast. It's pulling up slightly out of the Gulf, going across the mid-Atlantic, Chesapeake Bay region down to the south, but it's just a slight breeze. The most windy areas of the country are going right up the Mississippi and to the west where that storm front is trying to come through. We do have some winds coming in off the Pacific that's being broke up in the Rockies. So you can actually see the delineation line of where the winds are being broke up by the Rockies. We look down in Australia and we see, well, it is going to be kind of a windy day on your Gold Coast. Looks like it's spinning to the west. Most of the winds are coming on shore and distributing across country to the west and to the northwest. So, Antarctica, well, you've got all kinds of wind down there. Is that no? That's the South Pole. Antarctica's up here by New Zealand. What's wrong with me? I should learn my geography. Yeah, Antarctica is up here, where New Zealand was making those rescues. Yeah, it's lots of wind up there. I applied for a job up there as a paramedic, and they said that I should have applied 2 years earlier because I was too old. Bastards. All right. Stream boob. Man, you just hit everybody up. Here is the view of the heat. And we talked about this right now. The hottest spot, Phoenix, 104. Las Vegas is trying to tie you up there at 104 degrees. New Orleans, 87. Houston, 94. Washington, D.C., 79. Up in Boston, 78. It's not cool and balmy anywhere. 66 currently in Seattle. We'll go down to Australia and check current temperatures there. It's a little cooler in Australia. Up in Darwin is 73, Broome 72, Port Hedland 64, jump down to Perth is 60, Alice Springs, you're chilly, 43 degrees right now. Adelaide 45, Melbourne 44, but Canberra, well, they take the cake with currently 33 degrees. So they're only going to get to 55 today. Brisbane 57 currently. Mackay, 65. Cairns, 63. We'll take a quick look at the National Weather Service heat advisory. We've talked about this pretty much. If you look down here, everything on the east of the Mississippi is code yellow, which is minor, with the exception of Florida. Florida is mostly code orange, which is moderate. But back over to the west, on the west side of the Mississippi, it's all orange and red, which orange is moderate. Red is major. That goes from the Great Lakes all the way down through Texas, extending through New Mexico along the border with Mexico over to the Baja and Los Angeles. Those areas, you're looking at moderate to extreme. Some people are magenta. If you look in there, you see that's probably like the Phoenixes in those areas. You're looking at extreme. So they don't want you to stay out in it for too long. Make sure you're staying hydrated and that you can seek shelter from the heat. Look at the fires here in the U.S. The only new fire in Florida to report, Rogers River, 340 acres, 0% containment. But we look over here to the west of the Mississippi and over into California. These fires are growing and intensifying. But right here, this area where the fire danger warning is so bad, some of these fires are firestorms now, creating their own weather, burning 1,000 acres an hour uncontrolled. And for the longest time, there was restricted airspace over them and they couldn't do water drops. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. All right, here's the smoke flow from today. And we see the fires up in Canada. It's really pushing off to the east, not really extending down much, maybe to the Great Lakes some, but most of the smoke is being pushed out to the east. It's making it as far as the United Kingdom. The lower 48, you can kind of, most areas are going to have a smoky, hazy day, except for the south. We're exempt from it today. Anywhere from Southwest Virginia through Alabama, the Carolinas, and down into Florida, well, we're in the clear for smoke today. And we look at, this is the air quality. Well, those fires are causing some poor air quality. Buffalo, Montreal, over into Vermont, Maine, back down. I'm actually just going to throw Washington, D.C. in there because I'm sure that's going to move to the east, northeast. So pretty much from Atlanta over to the coastline of Savannah, up through the mid-Atlantic into the Chesapeake, New England area, back over to the Great Lakes. You are all code yellow for moderate skies. But you get over into areas of Kingston, Ottawa, and it'll be moving over into New York, Rochester, Buffalo. You are going to have some unhealthy air, dangerous for people that are sensitive to the storms. The air quality map for the United States. I don't know how many people I got left hanging in here. We see that dust from the Sierra is still coming across and making its way up into the Gulf. Not as strong as it was last week, but it is opening up this whole area for warmer temperatures. Because remember, when the dust gets in the clouds and as it's pushing to the west in the jet stream, it's actually producing ice, keeping cooler temperatures, which inhibit the hurricanes. Well, hello there, Asylum. Welcome. Glad you're here, Harley. And we can see up here in Canada, that whole area, just terrible. Terrible air quality from North Carolina, Charlotte, straight up Charleston. Some very poor air quality conditions due to the smoke. Oh, that fella doesn't look happy. Here's that fella. New Milford. That's unhealthy air. I've never clicked on one of these to see what it does. Harrisburg. That fella looks unhappy. Sensitive air quality. I gotta stop goofing because there is something I want to try and see if we can figure out. Australia, your air quality isn't really that bad. Yeah, it's low for most of your country for your air quality. You do have some fires burning, but they're mostly to the west and to the north. So the winds are circulating around, pushing up pretty much up through Alice Springs and back over to the west of Broome. You have some smoky conditions there. But coming in from Melbourne all the way up, almost to Sydney, that smoke and dust is being pushed to the northwest. So, all right, let's jump to something else. No tsunami warnings, advisory, watches, or threats. That's good news. And this is a map. I'll refresh it real quick of... Let's bring it back over here. There we go. Calm your jets. Of earthquakes in the last 24 hours. We see the most recent one appears to be down here in Guatemala and in Western Turkey. It looks to be maybe one in South America. Yes, Argentina. All right. Volcano updates. Great Sitkin. Your watch activation code is orange. There is some possibilities of it activating. Spur, you are a code yellow. Kilauea, you are a code orange for your volcano watch. And today's global seismic activity level is predicted to be moderate, but we already talked about the few shakers we have. The volcano ash advisory, new emission to 5,000 feet. That was today, about 4 hours ago, and that is off of... Telica. Which one is it? Telica Village? No, I don't. Maybe later. Go away. You bother me. Volcanic ash up to 5,000 feet. And where's Telica? Washington? No, that's not Washington. This has got to be South America. So, close that. And volcano activity. We see the only activity we talked about, the volcano back over here, Kilauea, it's green up through there. But if you go back over here to the ring of fire in the past 24 hours, possibility of it becoming active very, very quickly. So let's see. Or ash. All right, so load more just because. Yeah, they have ash warnings, moderate earthquake. In Indonesia, we talked about that one, 5.3, and the ash from the volcanoes, and a moderate earthquake in Indonesia. I'm gonna skip all this real quick. We'll cover all this next week, but I want to jump right here for a minute. This is to the plane watch, and I'm not going to zoom in up here. All this is ice. Down here, this is training in the Gulf of America. Florida could be anything from training to ice. But over here, Los Angeles. This is interesting because we have a tanker here flying out. And if we look and see, it's obviously refueling something right off the California-Mexican coast. And we got this one over here. Oh, zoom out. This one is also a tanker. And look at what it's doing. But its route is different. See its route? It's got it. This is fueling others. So we have a tanker down here refueling and a tanker up here refueling. Remember, each jet can sustain 32 aircraft. This is another tanker. Where is it refueling? Well, it's probably coming to fill one of the others. And what is this? This is a Hercules. Well, this is a transport plane. It's just kind of moving along. It ain't got nothing to do with this. Evil 11. What is Evil 11? It's an Osprey operated by the Marine Corps. It's just kind of flying around out there. And CU-30. Look at these already, right? Yeah. Look at all these Blackhawks down here. And what I'm trying to get at, and here's a Hercules. What I'm trying to get at is we have all these aircraft. Havoc. It's a C-130. It's also just flying around out there. They don't give its flight area. And what do we have there? Another C-130. It's just kind of cruising along. All these are cruising along out in the west. That one's just passing through. Do we look at that one? Lost 2. It doesn't give us a flight path of Lost 2 or what it really is. Oh, it's a Cessna military. That's a dignitary. All right. We looked at Evil 11 Osprey. So we talk about down here. Look at all the tankers refueling. That's an inordinate amount of tankers refueling for one. And for two, remember that each tanker can support up to 30 aircraft. So that's just a transport plane. Let's hop over and we'll see here. This is from the FAA. This is warnings. Red zones are do not fly areas. You know, you have them up here for dignitaries in DC, and then you have all kinds of other training ones. We talk about the training down in the Gulf of America. But then you have these special use airspace ones. And normally these are for training, but they've been marked off here lately as danger boxes. So they are higher air priority as to do not fly in them because they are danger. This extends out from California into the Pacific. Now let's go over here for a minute and see if we see anything funny. All the red, those are just kind of parked vehicle. And all right, so that's just kind of a tanker, just kind of cruising along. All these are parked, not doing anything. That's just a tanker, just kind of moving along. Does it say? It's a U.S. tanker. And let's see. Let's pick one of these. These are all active and moving around. There's another tanker. There's a yacht. I'm trying to find if there's anything interesting out here. The military is not really going to tell you if they've got warships out there. They might flash that they're there, but they're not going to tell you what they are. Then you see some that are, just hanging out here. That's a container ship. Look at that red flag with a star. It's not moving very much. Moving, but not very much. Then we have this one. That's an oil tanker. Do we look at that one? That's an oil tanker. This one, that's an oil tanker, is parked. There's another parked tanker. Is there anything out here that's just kind of sitting there? Well, that's a chemical tanker. Ooh, even more dangerous. What do we have here? That's a oil tanker. It's an American vessel of some sort. It won't tell us what it is. All right. That's an oil tanker. Is there anything up here? That's an oil tanker. What about this right here? It's a Mexican oil tanker. They're not saying what kind of tanker that is. And it's just kind of sitting there. And it's a container ship. Let's see. Can we? Well, I don't guess we can. Let's go over to Ship Explorer and see if it shows us anything different. I'm getting that. Just hang out down here. Keep a real close eye on with a lot of fighters. What could be parked down here that's causing such distress for the U.S. to have so many tankers out there? What would be, it's underway. What could be hanging around out here that's causing the U.S. military to just kind of be active in the area? I can't sort this by country, can I? What I'm getting at is there is some kind of vessel, container vessel from a flagged country just parked, sitting. It's a container ship. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I will remind you that containers have recently deployed mass drone swarms in other parts of the world. So what I'm getting at is our military is doing an awful lot of training and spending time in this area off the Pacific coast, pretty much from Central California down to the Baja, and they have a large amount of fighter aircraft in the area, more so than normal. More than normal. If we zoom out and let's see if there's any over the center of the country, we'll probably see one or two because the military always tries to have fighter aircraft up. It's Friday, so it should be a lighter load, but there's a tanker and it's not fueling anybody. There's a training flight. It's launched. There should be some up here. And that's a tanker. It's not really on a circling, so it's probably escorting aircraft. So the ones on the straight line are usually escorting aircraft. It's when they circle is when they're fueling. Oh, there's a Poseidon. You know what that is? Poseidon is a aircraft vessel that hunts out submarines, and it's coming out of Buffalo. It's kind of interesting. And it's headed straight to the northeast. And we look at that one. Let's go over here off the East Coast. And C-130, Blackhawks, that's just going to be kind of patrolling. Go down here. That is a dignitary coming out of the Bahamas. Hold on a minute. It just picked up right there. That's a dignitary plane, and I bet you it's coming for somewhere, if I had to guess, off of this country's rock. No, off of this cut. No, yeah, that one. Never mind. Just disregard me. But what I'm getting at is there's a lot of aircraft and on the West Coast. For what reason? I don't know. I'll leave that to you. You can go search it out in Marine and Ship Viewer. We'll also zoom out real quick and I'll refresh this. Let's see if there are any balloons up and going around. And doesn't appear to be too many today, at least in America. Over in UK, there's one or two. And I don't see any down in Australia. All right, so we'll end our day, since we ran over last night and got in trouble, or yesterday and got in trouble. We'll end our day with Bitdefender. But to remind everybody to be vigilant with the storms, have a weather radar with you at all times. Weather radar, weather radio. If you have weather radar, that's good too. I doubt you do, though. If you're out on the seas or the ocean this weekend, make sure that you have a marine radio, and remember that some of the conditions are going to be favorable for some severe storms this weekend along the Atlantic and Gulf Coast states. So if you're out in those areas, be cognizant of the weather, and if anywhere in the country, well, stay hydrated because it's going to be a very hot weekend. All right, so I will not have a show tonight on Big Brother, but Harley and I will have a show Sunday night. We're going to update you on everything Big Brother. We'll talk about Ashley's vote and who is now the new head of house, who is nominated, and what it's looking like. So we will have that Sunday night, and then Monday I will return for my normal shows. Monday afternoon, look for posts on social media. I will be guesting on a podcast, the Best Damn Podcast. I don't know where it's going to air, so I don't know that I can link it to my channel. So check out the Best Damn Podcast Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be on it. For everybody else, I will see you next week. Let me push some buttons here to keep us legal. Everybody have a great weekend. I hope to hear and see from you soon. Harley, I hope to see and hear from you soon.
You're listening to a Dare Media Group radio station. Daring Australian Radio Entertainment. Dare Media Group is the home of these online radio stations: Radio X Gold, Radio X Country, 6RXM Radio X Magic, and Dare Talk Radio. Find out more at daremediagroup.com.au.
There you go. Thank you to Yerg's Radio and to Radio X Dare Media for allowing us to tickle your ears. Please come over and find us on the YouTubes under the Sportcat shows Paranormal. Guys, give us a like, give us a share, give us a sub, hit that notification bell. Everybody have a great weekend.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
That's right. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Everybody have a great weekend. I will talk to you soon. Sportcat is out.